morning, everyone. Welcome back. How we doing? Do we need the lights on in the back? I sort of like it without them. Welcome, 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 welcome. Man, what a day yesterday. What a day. It's been an exciting market, that's for sure. Oh, you want a pullback? What are you, crazy? What a move. What a move. Man, the long term is... Holy hell. A lot of money being made on the long term, that's for sure. Who is happy they came to this live stream 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I wouldn't stop yelling about buying long-term stocks? I'm sure you're happy you made that decision, so well done. Keep buying stocks for your future. Don't stop. Always. I mean, AMD. I bought back AMD at 144, so not bad. MRVL, Nvidia, Broadcom, Crowdstrike's hot, Amazon, TSM, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft today. Come on, baby. Pump. MU, yes, sir. We'll take a look at that. Actually traded MU yesterday. I don't even know how. It was Steve in the live trading yesterday. Shout out Steve. Called out MU, and that's the power of a community right there. Yeah, Chef. I mean, we need to go back to that live stream, right, Chef? I mean, I remember that. I mean, it's incredible. I think it was 2020. What was it? 2022. I mean, I think it was over 3 years ago, right? 2022. We were talking about how there was no future without semiconductors, right? Why, if 3 years ago we were saying, if you think the U.S. is going to innovate, unless you think the U.S. is going to shit, right? Then what is the innovation that is coming for the U.S.? It is semiconductors, right? You need them. They are necessary objects. If you took away all the semiconductors in the world, we go back to being a piece of shit country. So that's not going to be the that's not the plan. So that was incredible, Chef. Incredible. Yeah, I'd love to see that if you have it saved. I'd love to see it. I'd like to see what we were saying 3 years ago. That's crazy. It's crazy how long we've been doing this for, actually. Now that I sit and I listen and think about it. We've been showing up to this live stream for like 5 years now. Every day. It's actually sickening. Hustle. Appreciate that, Hustle. Appreciate you showing up every morning. Do what you do. Appreciate that, Hustle. Thank you for the 15. That's a nice lunch. Appreciate that, Hustle. I'll go get some Chipotle with that. Thank you for keeping me. Oh, by the way, I met one of you guys at Chipotle 2 days ago. I wonder if it's someone in as a member. If that was you who I met at Chipotle two days ago, Make sure to write in the chat. All right. So with that said, let's get our day started. Today, big gap up. You know, I think by the end of this year, we're all going to understand. We are all going to understand how to trade gap ups. If there's one thing that we will learn over the next few, that we've learned over the last few weeks and possibly into the future here, is how to trade gap ups. I mean, that's pretty much every single morning. So, it was not me, that's for sure. So today, a big gap up again, and it's the same thing, right? Just because Meta and Microsoft pushed us higher doesn't mean we don't look for still maybe some pullbacks, look for some gaps to be filled. We did it yesterday. We did it the day prior. We did it the day prior, right? So let's continue to look for the same thing, gap fills to create best long entries. Don't get FOMO. Don't chase Microsoft and Meta out of the gates because, oh my God, right? Could go straight up again, but that's not going to be something, you want to do long term. So gap fills, let's look for them. Let's look for that pullback long again. Big earnings tonight as well. Apple, Amazon. This is big as well. Possibly, I'd actually say Meta, Microsoft together is more important than Apple, Amazon, to be honest. So Apple, Amazon still huge, but Microsoft and Meta, those are definitely some big boys. Probably, add those two together. If you had to tell me, in my mind, if I had to say which team would you be put on, I would want to be on Meta and Microsoft's team, right? Just personally. I think these are two better performing stocks than Apple and Amazon. Just better, I think, companies, in terms of like the weight of what's going on. Just feel like Microsoft and Meta are just some beefy ones. Apple and Amazon, they have their faults. And so I'd rather be on the Meta and Microsoft team. So I think the reason I bring this up is I think it is very important that Meta and Microsoft did well. Very important. If those two went down, it would have been a very, very bloody day today. So very important for the market that those did well. So good to see that. Good to see that for our long terms for sure. With that said, let's jump into it. Let's get, we're wasting a little bit of time. So let's get right into it. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel. Here we go. Into the circle we go. All right. So get everything set up here. Where's my mouse? Where is my mouse? There it is. All right. Where's my chat? There's chat. All right. We're good to go. Get this light on. Boom. Oh, you want a pullback? Is that what you wanted? All right. So let's start with the economic calendar. Economic calendar today. We do have an economic calendar out there. Economic calendar. What do we got today? Today we got PCE at 8:30, employment cost index 8:30, unemployment claims 8:30. Do I think this is going to flip the market to the downside? Probably not. I don't think these economic data events will change what Meta and Microsoft did yesterday, unless we just saw a blow off top. But we'll see. We'll see. But 8:30. Let's see what we do. Let's see what the market, how the market reacts to it at 8:30. Friday, tomorrow, average hourly earnings, non-farm, unemployment rate, manufacturing PMI, and that's that. Next, earnings. Let's go to the earnings calendar here real quick. Let's pull that up. I should make my background like something different, right? Actually, it's sort of peaceful, though. I like these trees we have here. So, pulling this up. All right. So, yesterday. Here. Carvana straight up. How'd Qualcomm do? Qualcomm and ARM straight down. So that's sort of interesting for the semis today. Except Nvidia, AMD straight up. So, interesting, right? ARM, Qualcomm straight down. Carvana vertically higher. Microsoft, Meta vertically higher. Insane moves on those two stocks. I mean, that is just nuts. Today, Roblox, AbbVie. Roblox vertically higher. Holy crap. Okay. What a stock Roblox has been from the 50s. So Roblox, insane. Yeah, I mean, nothing really there for me today. AbbVie, up. That's great for the long term. That's great for the shares, and that's great for the dividends, for sure, for AbbVie. So, I mean, everything's just sort of going, man. I mean, this has got to be, I'm just sort of taking a second to think about this. This has got to be one of the most bullish moments in stock market history that I can remember. I mean, this has been a bull run for the history books, no doubt. I mean, this market is nuts. So awesome. I mean, awesome. Can't complain. Apple, that's today. Amazon is today. Those are two big ones today. Coinbase, MicroStrategy today. Coinbase, MSTR today. And we'll talk about Bitcoin and some interest there today for me. Also, we have, what was that one? Reddit. We have Reddit today. RDDT, which has been an interesting name. Possibly a pretty interesting earnings to be watching today for sure. Expected move on this one is $17, so about a little bit more than 10%. Could be something interesting if you're feeling YOLO-like in this market. So that's really it. I mean, we just got to know that Apple and Amazon is tonight, and it could shake things up a little bit, right? It could. Apple closed its first store ever in China, which is, I think, what affected it yesterday, and Apple's just sort of been under pressure, so we'll see. If Apple does this, then this market is going to literally burn its wheels off. I mean, it's just going to be out of control. If Apple reports well and goes higher, there's nothing stopping this for now. We'll see, right? It's another guess, but let's just pay attention to what Apple and Amazon do today to get another feel for what this market's going to do. Let's get into the technicals. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel. Here we go. So, Nasdaq futures. There's only one trade I can recommend today, guys, unfortunately. And we'll go into the ES, and I'll show you another opportunity. But for me on the Nasdaq, there is really only one trade I can recommend, and that is a pullback to this 23,650. Anything above 23,650, you are longing on gap up territory. So I really can't gain a strong, confident, and highly recommended game plan today with anything over 650. I just can't do it, right? I can't logically, be throwing out confident levels above this high. This is where the market should pull back to. This is where a gap fill should happen, and this is where, your next long should set up. Anywhere between 650 and possibly back at that 590, 600 area, right? That high from yesterday before FOMC. So a pullback to the Tuesday high or a pullback to the FOMC high, right there intraday, would be, to me, the best opportunities to look for today. Will that happen today? I don't know. And quite possibly it might not, right? You might just gap and go if this market just wants to continue to rock it. But, when you come to this live stream, I'm going to give you reliable ideas. Those are reliable ideas. Anything north of 650 is a little bit unreliable to me. It's, on a gap up. It's on, questionable, is it going to be able to hold? That's hard for me to say. I like this 650 a lot. That's my key spot. You could start marking out some short-term levels here. Like you can mark out maybe this 740 spot. You can mark out maybe this low right here, around 713, 712. You can mark out this high a day right around this 688 area. These are possible pullback spots, no doubt, in the very short term, right? You can maybe pull back to here, find a little bounce there, right? You could pull back to this previous day high here, find a little bounce at 688. It's very possible. Those are very possible little spots to be looking for. However, those are all spots off of very low volume and in the after hours on a gap up. So where does the volume pick back up? The volume picks back up at the high of this Tuesday move, right around that 650. And then also this would be an incredible spot back at this triple top, right? This is truly probably the best spot back at the 590 area. So back at these highs here, back at these highs here, and back at yesterday's high there, around that 590, that would truly be the number one spot in my eyes, right? Somewhere between this area, between 650 and 600. Somewhere in this area, back to these highs, would be the best long opportunity on this market. Do we get it? I don't know. All right, I don't know, because this gap up is strong. It could just gap and go, just like every other gap up we've thought about gapping and going. But what have we done on every single gap up so far in this market? All right, we gapped up Monday, we pulled back to gap fill. We gapped up Tuesday, we pulled back to gap fill. We gapped up Wednesday slightly, and we sort of stayed sideways. Today we gapped up again. Right? Do we gap fill? Gap fill to me would probably be, really the gap fill is back to like the close of yesterday, which is down like to 500, but I don't think you're going to see that. You're going to see holds probably at the 590 and possibly at the 650. That's all I can recommend right now. Right? To be honest, we'll have to see what the intraday action provides. This is definitely an intraday reading action, intraday type day. Right? If we start to see holds in this area, and you start to see some kind of really strong low develop intraday, then maybe you're going to have to trust that, right? But for now, when historical levels, 650 is the first one, 590 is the next one. That's for me today, okay? Let's go to the ES. The S&P 500 could be what keeps the Nasdaq up as like a gap and go, and that's right here. Let me show you the S&P 500. So the S&P 500, and it's sort of interesting, right? Because you are actually failing below this level right now. So the S&P 500, I'm going to move this slightly. I think it's more like right here, to be honest. I'm going to change this a little bit. So the S&P 500, I'm doing a slight adjustment, because I think it's a little bit different than what I originally had. So the S&P 500 has this this high from that Sunday open, right? And this high from that Monday, that after hours. That's between 55 and 58. And you can see yesterday on this move higher, 55 and 58 had some problems. 55 and 58 trying to hold, and 55, 58 now sort of failing back under. So a little bit interesting there, where the S&P is, it's still below this Monday high and this Sunday futures high, right around that 55, 58 area. If the S&P can find a nice hold above this level today and continue, right, off of this high, then the Nasdaq's going to continue with it, right? And you probably won't get a deeper pullback. Now, if the S&P rejects here, then we might see some slide, and I think the best spot to look for the S&P longs today is 40 to 42, in my opinion. So if you look at this market, I see this low, I see this high, I see this high, and I see the low that held overnight yesterday. This would be a fantastic spot, in my opinion, to look for a pullback today. Right in here, right around that 40 to 42 area. If we can get a pullback and a long setup off that, that's something I would really look for today. That could be a great spot to sort of, look for the market to maintain itself. Now, if the S&P fails back under this Tuesday high, you are going to see, in my opinion, that gap fill, right? Which is right here, down to 20s, right? If you fail back under 40, which is this high, you'd probably move lower in this straight up action, right, that you saw overnight yesterday. You saw yesterday or Tuesday straight down. And if you fail back under this 40 high, that's a flashbang. You're probably going to see, in my opinion, this move, right? Down there, under 40, you're probably going to see a move to 20, which would be a great, once again, a great pullback long. So something to be aware of on the ES, guys. We are still underperforming on the ES because this market is fueled by nothing more than tech right now. I mean, it is all tech. And so, look at this. Costco, terrible. It's been terrible. Lululemon. Some of these stocks are god-awful right now. Just not moving with the market. Home Depot, Lulu. The ones that I always go to, like Costco is always something I look at. Walmart's been nothing, incredible. A lot of these surrounding sectors, a lot of these surrounding stocks are just not going anywhere. It is all tech. So there is a little bit of a divergence. I mean, a big divergence, actually, on the, like, look at where the ES compared to Monday's highs. Look at where the Nasdaq is compared to Monday's highs, right? Look at this. Look at this difference here. This is 1% above Monday's highs. The S&P is below Monday's highs. And then if you go to the IWM, right, we went down all day on the IWM and are still going down this morning, right? The IWM is actually negative on the week, right? So it's such a tech market, right? It is such a singular sector market right now, and it's something to still pay attention to, at least to, you know, you got to know what's hot and what's not, especially in the current market. So a little bit interesting, right? A little bit interesting. 64.55, 64.55 to 58, something to pay attention to, right? If you reject that today, you're coming back to 40s. If you reject that, you're going back to 20s. And this would be normal, right? This would be normal gap fill pullback, you know, back to this area, back at 20. So definitely pay attention to that today, right? Make sure you're aware of it. If you get those pullbacks on the ES, right, if you start to see those ES pullbacks, that is likely when the Nasdaq starts to give you your retests as well. Okay, so just pay attention to them together and see what, you know, what you're looking at. All right. So with that said, SPY. Let's go to the SPY. SPY key level that I want to see get a hold today is right here at 639. This would be a fantastic spot to watch today for a little retest long, watching the 639 spot as my first spot, right? That's my first pullback spot to be watching. That is this Tuesday high. That is this futures open low. And that is also in the after hours yesterday. You can see a little bit of a hold here above 639. So watching that 639 spot, that is definitely something I'm paying attention to. Now, below 639, right, below this high, if you do fail back under 639 today, I adore the 637 spot. This would be a pullback to the triple top highs of the week prior to this big move, right? So you had these highs from last week. You had that Monday hold spot. You had this Tuesday rejection. And this is the spot that you rejected all day yesterday, right? This all-day rejection yesterday came in around 637. So this, you can see already in the after hours, right? Look at what we did here in the after hours yesterday. We had a break and retest of 637, right here. This is an awesome spot. So if we do get blessed by a pullback to 637, that would really be an incredible spot to look for a new long. 637, right? 639, those are the two spots that I'm looking for. 637 would be a nice gap fill move, right? Fill in some of this straight up move from the after hours, give us back to 637. That would be incredible. Do we get that? I'm not sure. 639, 637, those are my two spots. Let's go to, before we jump into that, I want to just share with you how incredible the, and obviously it's so hard to tell if this is going to happen based off earnings, right? But let's look at the incredible retest and hold of 23,400 on the Nasdaq. Let's take a second, right? Let's take a second and look at that. Who remembers us talking about the channel, the market structure, right? And we talked about how, this looks like it's potentially failing up here, but you can't short it. We said this on Tuesday. We said this Monday morning. Was it Monday? No, it was Tuesday morning. Yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, we came into the live stream and we said, hey, we're seeing some failures here at 23,530, and you're potentially looking at some type of a topping market, but we can't do that. We can't short that because of why? We can't short that because we're still above these previous highs. And as long as we're above these previous highs, the market's still bullish. And look at where the Nasdaq held yesterday, at the exact previous highs. So that's incredible. And the market is still in this very strong bullish structure. All right. And where would that bullish structure get met again? Right? Where would the bullish structure get met again? It would get met again right here, in my opinion. This is your next bullish structure. And so that's why I think a pullback, right, to that 590, 600 area that we talked about is the best opportunity, right? Pull back to this high here, pull back to these highs, pull back to that previous day high from yesterday, right? Like we did here, turning previous highs into lows. I think you want to see previous highs into lows, right? And that's going to be your best spot right down here, right? So that's sort of why I'm thinking that way. Because for the market to stay in that very clean structure move and stay in a very, a confident move, you want pullbacks. You don't want to go straight up. It's not what you want to see. 65.58, I'm sorry, 64.55, 64.58 right here, right? If that rejects, 64.40, 64.20. Let's go to the QQQ. QQQ, it was our 566 demand zone. If you guys remember, we had these highs at 566 to 567. We said that this must be the new low, and you can see that is exactly where the QQQ rocketed off of yesterday. Absolutely perfect. Here's your low, here's your low, here's your rocket right off 566, 567. Previous high, into lows, into lows, into lows. Perfect structure move. All right, beautiful. So technicals are still just a thing of beauty here. So where do we want to see the QQQ come back to today? There's two spots. The first spot for me would be this 572, right? That's the first and maybe a little bit more questionable spot, but that is the Tuesday high, and that is the low from Wednesday, from yesterday after hours, right? Where you sort of just squeezed higher after you held above 572. Below 572 would be the spot that I would feel more comfortable with, and that is right here at the 570, 50 area. That is back at the highs from this Monday, the Sunday after hours, Sunday futures open, Tuesday highs, where we rejected, and then back at that previous day high, back at this triple top high, right around 570 to 570.50. That would be the area that I would look for today. If we can pull back to this high, these lows, and this high from yesterday, the FOMC high, this would be the best spot for me. Right? Fill in this gap, fill in some of this straight up action here. That would be what I'm looking for. Yesterday, the 569 was a key spot. 569, 569, 569. That could also be a great spot as well. So anywhere between this 572, 570.50, 569, these would be great pullbacks to be looking for, right? These would be great pullbacks to be looking for. That's all I can recommend, right? I can't recommend anything over 572. Anything over 572 is pure gap, right? This is the first spot when you look to the left that you can pull back and trust at 572, right here, right there. That's where I'd like to see us, but we'll see if that happens. Emmanuel, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you for that. Freeway, start investing profit into the long-term portfolio. Would you do a video on how you weight your chosen assets? Let me buy you everything. Appreciate that, Freeway. I have some videos already. If you type in my name and then M1 Finance, so put Vincent Desiano M1 Finance, and I have videos on how I, run the long-term. So you can check that out. But appreciate that, Freeway. Thank you, brother. All right, we got our data. Let's see what the market does off our data today. Hamish. You wouldn't mind a pullback to start the day. You wouldn't mind it. That would be the best bullish thing to look for, is a pullback to fill some of this gap. PCE price index 2.8 versus 2.7. Initial jobless claims 218 versus 222. Pretty much everything in line with expectations as it continues to be. Really no surprises on this market as of late, right? Not a lot of uncertainty going on, and that's just a fuel for more upside, right? A lack of uncertainty, a lack of surprises continues to just be a reason for more upside. Yeah, not much reaction here. Nasdaq, ES just floating. This looks to me like the best spot today. Every time I look at this ES, right here looks like a great spot. Right here looks like a great spot. All right, these are great spots right here. Previous highs, look for the lows here. Below that, look for the 20, 64.20 rejections yesterday. Would love to see the rejections yesterday turn into holds today on a little pullback long, right? So SPY, right back down to this 637 spot. Possibly it's the 639, right? Those are two nice spots there. QQQ, looking at the 572, possibly the rejections from yesterday around 570, 570.50. You know, looking left to try to find those key levels to look for pullbacks to. Question is, are we gapping and going today? Time to move on. SMH. So here's a little bit of an interesting day, right? Here's a little bit of an interesting thing going on. And something to pay attention to, right? SMH, not above yesterday's highs. Interesting, right? Something to be aware of, right? SMH, not above yesterday's highs. Everything else, tech side is, right? Nasdaq is, individual equities are, right? But the SMH is not. So, and this is likely because of ARM and Qualcomm. So sort of interesting there. Be careful at 298 on the SMH, right? And look for this pullback to be your long opportunity right here. Here's your high, here's your high, here's your high, here's your high. This could be an interesting opportunity. Let's see if SMH pulls back to that 293 again and creates a new long opportunity. That's something I'll definitely be watching today. IWM, not really getting the life. IWM pullback probably due here back to like this 217, 215 zone. And then maybe you can look for that long again off that 200 SMA. Bitcoin, interesting day for the Bitcoin. Another nice hold of the daily 20 SMA after holding it here. Another nice flashbang, two flashbangs today. Another nice potential maybe breakout move off a daily 20 SMA hold. Coinbase and MSTR earnings tonight is interesting. Not sure it'll really affect the actual asset of Bitcoin, but it could. It could. Something to watch, right? I like these holds on Bitcoin. I think something is looming here to the upside. I like the pullback that you're getting, and it just looks like Bitcoin's waiting to find that next sort of breakout move. So keeping very close watch on the Bitcoin. Ethereum as well has had a nice hold at this gap fill level, right? We had this gap fill on Ethereum right here. You see this gap fill. You see this nice consolidation. Filled that gap yesterday, starting to push higher. Keep an eye on this, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin and just crypto in general is not really moving yet, but it's looming. Something is happening, right? Something is, this consolidation is going to create something. So just make sure you're checking in on this on a daily basis, okay? Make sure you're checking in on this on a daily basis. All right, so before we move on, we need to get the likes up. Excuse me. We need to press the like button. So 2,600 people here, 1,000 likes. Let's get that 1,500 goal. That's our new goal, 1,500. Yeah, if you don't like the content, then don't watch, right? And if you do like the content, then press the like button, right? There's really only two options. Like Margin said. Appreciate that, Margin. Press the like button. Helps it get out to more people. Helps us continue to grow. It's free. Remember, it's free. Will it be free forever? We'll see with time. We'll see with time. All right. Let's continue. Let's go to Teslita. So, Teslita. Interesting, right? An interesting little overshoot yesterday. An interesting little trap to the downside yesterday, right? Tesla looked very bad yesterday, but guess what? It's right back over 318. It's right back over 315, right? Look at this. Look at how Tesla had a little bit of a trap down there and right back up, right? So 315, 318, this is interesting. This is an interesting little pullback opportunity, right? This is a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders, my friend, right? Look at this. Little one of these. So I'm watching Tesla today. Right, I'm looking to see if Tesla can find that life again. 318, 315, good pullback after this sort of explosion move. Good retracement, right? If we pull a fib from these highs, right? That's a nice little 50% retracement yesterday. Pretty much bounced right at 61.8. So a good retracement after this big move, good pullback, inverse head and shoulder low. Can this be the next move? I like this. I would be watching this. Sneaky little move, right? Sneaky little move. You need to get back over the 200. That's without a question, right? You can't long this if it's below the 200 SMA. If you can get above the 200 SMA, I think you will go to the 325 level again. And that would be the neckline, right? Right there. If you can get over 325, if you can get over the daily 50 again, if you can get over this Wednesday high and this Tuesday rejection, you will go higher. There's no question about it, right? If you can reclaim these highs, you will go higher back into the 330 spot. So there's two ways to think about this, right? You could be really aggressive and long here, right? But it would keep you susceptible to potential failure moves. Or you can let that play out, right? Not get FOMO, allow this to go straight up, and then look for the break and retest above the daily 50, which would be pretty much the for sure move in my eyes. So two ways to think about that. Definitely it's something I'm watching. Nvidia, it's too far up for me today, unfortunately. Yesterday I traded the reclaim of 177, which was exactly from this live stream. And I appreciate some of you guys reaching out to me and letting me know that you traded that over 177. I got like 4 or 5 messages about that yesterday. So shout out to you guys about the Nvidia 177 long. This was a trade I took yesterday, which was just absolutely gorgeous. It was the Monday high, and there was just a perfect break and retest over 177 yesterday. Right here. Look at this. Right here. 177, break, retest, long, perfect. Bam. Beautiful trade. So that is that's gone, right? That's gone. We're not coming back to 177, at least maybe not today. Maybe we are. I don't know. But anyways, what I would be looking for today is a pullback to 180, 179.50. That's my pullback spot today. If I don't get that, then we'll just ride our Nvidia shares pretty much. I'm not going to chase this here. This is where Nvidia should come back to. We should come back to this Tuesday high. We should come back to this yesterday rejection spot. This is where Nvidia should trade back to. Give us that pullback to 180. Set up that next bull flag, right? This is what we want. This is how the market trades, right? The market expands. It bull flags. It breaks out again. It expands. It bull flags. It retraces. It breaks out again. It retraces. It breaks out again. And then it goes off your screen and you can't, it's gone. So what do we need? We need this section, right? This is the move we're looking for. We're looking for that bull flag. Where's the bull flag set up for me? It's right here. This is my bull flag on Nvidia. So what do I need? I need a pullback to this 180 on a bull flag. I need a long, and then I need another expansion. So that's what I'm going to look for on Nvidia. If I don't get it, and that's it. Not trading it. The only other thing that could happen, right, is a reclaim of this 184 for like a nice little reclaim and long. It's very possible. You could look for that 184 today if you really want to get involved there. AMD. So we talked about that 174 zone yesterday, 174, 172. We said if it holds this, it's bullish. If it breaks it, it's bearish. And guess what it did? It held it. Held it like a monster. So again, AMD monster hold in that very key demand that we had yesterday in the live stream, squeezing higher right off that level. Perfect. Today, we're up into the weekly supply, right? This is your weekly triple top supply. This is the triple top supply. I'm not going to write out triple. Weekly triple top, the WTP. Oh, by the way, I forgot to talk about this. Who remembers our poo zone? Our pocket of opportunity. That was right here yesterday. Remember the poo zone? The 633.50 to 631.50? Who remembers this? $2 poo zone. I'm sure a lot of you guys do. I hope you do, because we've made it very clear that it's the poo zone. That was a great opportunity, right? Look at that opportunity within that $2 zone. Very nice straight down, retest short, right? This was awesome. So shout out to you guys that took advantage of that. That was it literally was the exact levels. It bottomed at exactly 631.50, and it rejected at exact 633.50. It was perfection. And so, what a call. What a call for free. AMD, inside the big supply, I don't really like this long into this zone, to be honest. I like this right here, 180. It's crazy that I'm looking for the same level for Nvidia and AMD to pull back to today. Isn't that funny? I'm looking for Nvidia and AMD both to come back to 180 today. This is your spot on AMD. Can you get it? We'll see. Broadcom, 302. That's your pullback. Previous day high or previous highs, 302. Pullback long, 302. That's my watch there. MRVL. This is interesting. What did we want to see on MRVL yesterday? We wanted a pullback to what previous high? It was this previous high right here. If you guys remember, we were talking about MRVL in the pre-market. We were saying how it's straight up. We said we need a pullback to the 81 to 80 area, which is this previous high. Guess what MRVL did yesterday? It pulled back to exactly 80 to 81. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted, right? So that's awesome. 4-hour chart, previous high, into lows. That's perfect. So what are we looking for today? If MRVL can hold above 80, 81, right, and if it can get above this 200 SMA, I think you continue. So I'm going to be watching to see if MRVL, see what it does at the 200 SMA today. MU for pump. So MU, the 20 SMA, I don't like the failure here, pump. I'm just not a big fan of that. I don't like how I'm seeing a big smackdown at the daily 20. So for me, that's now going to be the spot that I needed to get back above. And it actually looks like it's sort of getting tanked right now. So MU is just not really benefiting from any of this upside on the market. This 117 and this daily 20 SMA looks like the spot to be careful of now. Yeah, it's no bueno up there at 117. So for me, the next trade on MU will have to be a reclaim over 117. If it's not that, then it's no trade for me. So MU 117. All right, moving on to some of my top watches here. Palantir. This was a top watch yesterday and pretty much the entire week. And it was the retest of 156, right? Right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right there, right there, and right there. Perfect, right? Previous highs into lows. This is a perfect move on Palantir. Now, I hope this doesn't run away from us too much because the best trade of the day to me looks like a pullback long at 159. Right? You can see right here, you have this structure, and this is the next one. So if you can turn 169 into lows today, I love this look. This is a top watch today. Little pullback long 169, that would be great. Targeting 159, sorry. Targeting 162, possibly looking for a breakout. This is a great look on Palantir, definitely watching this. OKLO and Palantir are doing the same exact charts. I don't know what it is about these two stocks, but they are following each other, which is very interesting, right? See this OKLO setup? See this 4-hour high? See this low? All right, see the break and retest on the 4-hour chart? Take a look at Palantir. It's the same thing. 4-hour high, 4-hour low. OKLO, 4-hour high, 4-hour high, 4-hour low. Crazy. It's the same chart. And it's been the same chart, even remember on that inverse head and shoulder move. So these two are very, very good traders right now, in my opinion. Like, these are stocks that you want to be looking to trade. They're just good trading stocks. They're making very clean moves. So today, OKLO, 78.58, right? Looking for a little break and retest above that. If not, maybe a pullback again to 70. But definitely keep an eyes on this one today. I'll get the target for you, margin. I want to go over Meta, because there's only one level you should be looking for on Meta today, and that is a pullback to previous all-time highs. That is right here at 749. That is the level that you need Meta to pull back to. 749 to create the new long. Either 749 or possibly back down to that 728. I doubt it gets back to 728. That would be a full give back. It's possible, but 749, 728, those are two spots I got there. I want to go over. I want to make sure we're keeping eyes on Netflix, right? Because Netflix is still a sneaky little long here. Look at your daily chart. It's really holding up above this 1160, 1175 zone. This could be a day that Netflix starts to find something. I would be watching that. Snow was a little bit interesting today. Snow has Snow's actually holding. Look at Snow on the 4-hour here. Snow holding over this 225, 227 zone. Look at this. This is sort of interesting on Snow today. This might be a little bit of a breakout day for SNOW, for Snow. I don't know why anyone would say SNOW, but look at this. 225, 226. Look at this little 4-hour hold going on here. This is interesting. Coinbase, I'd like to watch this. I'd also don't want to trade it through earnings, but 388 is a very interesting look today. If Coinbase can hold over the daily 20, that's interesting today. 388. Yeah, not really interested in Microsoft today, margin. I mean, what are we gonna trade here, right? I mean, via con Dios, right? May God, may the odds be forever in your favor. I mean, I don't know, right? Like, there's nothing here for me. Just, happy to be a long-term shareholder. That's about it. I mean, guys, there's thousands of trades out there. Oracle, yep. Oracle, you need a 251 pullback, right? That looks interesting, but you need a pullback to 251. Circle has some juice today, but not interested. That's about it. So, top watch for me, Palantir, definitely watching. OKLO watching. Netflix, keeping a little bit of an eye on that one today. Meta pullbacks to 749, interesting. Nvidia back to 180s. AMD back to 180s. Broadcom, previous day highs. Teslita over that 200 SMA could get interesting. Same thing with MRVL. But I mean, there's thousands out there. Snow on this 225, 227, interesting. TTD bounced off that 85 spot. Interesting. This high is still rejecting though. I probably won't trade TTD today. But yeah, I'm gonna leave this one alone. Last one. Last one. Here's the last one for you. Before we get out of here. Crowdstrike. Here's your Crowdstrike weekly. Crowdstrike weekly, major highs 450. Breakout on the weekly, pullback on the weekly. That Angel. There he is. Angel, what's up, man? Appreciate you coming up to me. I've gotten noticed by probably 4 or 5 people now. I appreciate that, Angel. Thanks for coming to say hi. Shout out, Angel. So, previous high right here, right? Crowdstrike, 450. This is interesting. Can you get the same breakout like you did on this weekly high, right? That's very interesting. If we go to the 4-hour chart, if we go to the daily chart, we can see daily chart. Previous highs, lows, interesting. What I'm going to be looking for here on Crowdstrike is a break over. Ideally, I'd want to break over this daily 20, daily 50. That looks to be really the key breakout, right? If you can get over like this 480 spot, right around here, this 480, 481, definitely an interesting spot there, right? Right around here. 480, daily 20 SMA, that's definitely a key spot. All right, if I can see a little break and hold above that, then I think this one's ready to go. So I'm going to be watching that daily 20, daily 50 area, seeing what happens up there. Keeping eyes on Crowdstrike. All right, guys, I appreciate your support. If you guys could, before you head out, please press that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Shout out Angel. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for joining the Desi Coffee Fund. Let's see. We got over all the questions, I believe. All right, cool. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for all the support. If you want to trade live with me every day. Oh, Target for margin. Sorry, margin. Target, real quick. Let's see. Target for margin. Yes, sir. Let's see here. Margin right here. 109. You got to break this weekly high. if you're looking long. See this? You got to break right here, margin. See this high and this high? Rejection, rejection. You get above 109, you can go 120. Yeah, that's it. Right there. You get above 109, you get into this gap area to 120 towards the daily 200. That's your level. Right there. Create an alert. 109. Alright guys, if you want to trade live with me every day, down in the description, link in the description. We are doing another a little launch for the mentorship also. This probably in the next few weeks. We're going to get some more people in there. It's been a great experience so far. If you want to put your name on the wait list, that wait list is down in the description as well. To set up a call with us to, get to know each other. That's the most important part. Get to know each other and get a feel for your story. Get an understanding for how we can help. So if you want to check that out, that's down below as well. All right? All right. Have a fantastic day. Best of luck, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.